Good evening, everybody. It's me. I'm back again with Christ and comic books. Man, I can't believe it. I cannot believe that episode. Episode 77. I watched it last night. I had to. I knew I couldn't wait. I was too anxious to see how this was play out, and I had my reasons. I really did have my reasons why I waited to, I guess you could say, go there. Because like I said, I already read the manga, so the manga puts you ahead of the game. So, volume number 18. So I was already ahead of everything. I already knew this was going to happen. I already knew what we saw in the new episode was going to take place. But I wanted to see how they was going to play it out. I wanted to see how they were going to illustrate it, and how it was going to be brought to life. I wanted to see that so very bad, and they did a magnificent job. Sidebar: I told you guys I was going to get that haircut, so I did. I got it cleaned up. I hope I did a good job. My wife likes it, and that's really all that matters. But anyway, let's bring it back. So this volume, my goodness, volume number 18. Episode number 77 of Season 4 of My Hero Academia. So, this episode, let's get into just the content. So, the episode starts off with, the fight ending, Overhaul's taken out, Deku is struggling with still having Eri on his back. She's rewinding time on him. He's using the full potential of One for All, which is another video for another topic. We're actually going to do that one next. So, Deku supposedly using all of the One for All in this fight to be able to take down Overhaul. And so he's trying to, he's basically destroying his body over and over and again. That way all of Eri's energy is going towards restoring him. But at the same time, it's been amped up another level, so he can't destroy he's having to balance destroying his body enough to where the rewind isn't making him actually rewind too far back, I guess you could say, to where he ceased to exist. So, everyone's trying to catch up. Everyone's like, Overhaul's defeated. It's done. The fight's over. All of this. And then they finally bring all the other heroes out of the holes. They're checking on every other hero, making sure everyone's okay. On a side note, Eraserhead got captured. Aizawa got captured by one of the Hasakai people, but they were able to save him. They got him from that person, so he was saved. They took even the bullets that the Chisaki had, that Overhaul was using. They took those bullets that would erase powers. They took those away. So those are in the hands of the police force, as well as all of the other Yakuza members have all been taken in. So all of that's been taken care of. They're all packing all of this stuff up, but we got Deku still stuck getting rewound. So thankfully, we have them bringing up, we have Froppy. She's bringing up Razorhead, and he uses his abilities. Now that he's safe and secure, he's able to stop Eri from using her power. She instantly falls out, and she goes into, like, a fever mode. So she's sick. Deku's holding on to her, as she's getting a high fever. So they're rushing everybody, to the hospital. They're getting everybody to safety. Although there's so much damage, although there so many people injured, they take a moment to be like, good job, Deku. Thank you. They said thank you. I think that's something to keep in mind. It wasn't that they said good job. They weren't treating him like a kid in that moment. They respected all the effort that he put in, all the commitment that he put into this job, and they said thank you. I think that's her name was Ryuka. She's the dragon lady, one of the pro heroes. So she recognized him, and she told him thank you for what he did. So, just not to get into every instance, every detail of this episode, but Overhaul ends up getting his arms cut off because Shigaraki finds him after he's been captured, and he goes and attacks him while he's in captivity, taking away his arms, basically. Now, one of the twisted things, I'll be totally honest with you guys, from the way that the manga illustrated it, I'm going to have to double check, but the manga illustrated it like Shigaraki kills Overhaul. But instead, it's actually, from the way that the anime portrays it, he just took his arms away. So that's something I'm going to have to double check on because I don't know what actually happened to Chisaki now. But let's keep this video going forward. So we're going to fast forward to what's happening next is Deku's getting checked out. He has just a new scar on his right shoulder. From the upper shoulder down to the elbow. He kind of have like a burn mark, I guess you could call it. So that's his only new real injury. Otherwise, most of the other injuries are fine. So he's able to get up, move around and be okay. So he gets to Eraserhead, checking in with Eraserhead to see how Erie's doing. Erie's power is so great that they just basically express how that's something that we're going to have to monitor and quarantine off until we can figure out a secure way to help her develop that self-control, and at least not using her powers at all, from the way that they're illustrating it. I have my own thoughts about that that I think would be crazy and twisted. That would make this story a bit more realistic, I guess you could say. In one sense, you know, the police force harnessing what she can do and them doing what Overhaul was doing, but for the greater good by, you know, taking away the powers of people who don't deserve them. Kind of, you know, reflecting with the Avatar Last Airbender, how he took away the Fire Lord's power. You know, that kind of thing. They have the opportunity to kind of play that game. So that's something that I'd keep in mind for that. But let's press on. So we get forward. Night Eye isn't going to make it. I told you guys I knew it. But they come in, they acknowledge, you know, he's not going to make it. The doctor said we've done everything he can. We're even surprised he's still going. Now, keep in mind, what happened was a whole spike went through his abdomen, right in this area, all the way through him right here. And then he even lost an arm. So, one, we're counting for blood loss, because it's not as though they neutralized the blood loss at that moment. Okay, chill out, all you realistic people. I know it's an anime, but still, you gotta respect the man for not dying instantly after getting pierced through the gut, okay? So, that's something to point out. Anyway, so he's lying in the hospital bed. They're surprised that he's okay. They even brought the old healing lady in to, you know, see if she could do anything about it, but she can't even restore him because his injuries are too far gone. That's one of the caveats that they always bring in with anime. They always bring in that caveat that they'll have a healing character, but there's limits to the healing character's abilities, unless there's another character that can fill in the gap for that other healing character's abilities. They otherwise have limitations, and in this case, we've reached limitation. The injuries are too great on Night Eye. Night Eye cannot be healed. So, there's nothing that they can do. Night Eye is going to die. So, in the midst of Deku coming in to get this information, he witnesses the healing lady's there, the doctor's there, the bubble girl is there, you know, other heroes are present for this. We got Aizawa present for this, and then All Might's there too. Now, something that's a past record that I know the anime watchers know, but any other new viewers that aren't quite up ahead with all the details, Night Eye and All Might had a falling out because of Night Eye's abilities. So Night Eye used his abilities on All Might to see All Might's future, and then seeing All Might's future, All Might was going to end up dying. And so to try and encourage that we don't lose our hero of peace, you know, he was trying to talk All Might into not going into a particular fight. The fight that actually cost him to have that huge injury that hinders him from being able to maintain One for All in the first place, leading to him needing to pass it on, leading to Deku getting the abilities, etc., etc. So they haven't spoken to each other since that instance took place. They have not met face to face. They have not had any conversation. And even Night Eye, even though there's no relation between them, was looking to find that replacement, to find that person to take on the mantle of All Might, of One for All. And that's when he was believing that he could find that in Muriel. One, because of Muriel's determination. Two, because of Muriel's able to he has a high reflection of All Might's character, at least when he's in hero mode. That's Muriel at all times. So he believed Muriel could be that replacement, but All Might saw something in Deku instead, so hence why we have Deku as the one with One for All. So, moving forward from that, you know, they're meeting again. Night Eye, and what he experienced with seeing Deku defeat Overhaul. Night Eye saw Deku losing this fight. Night Eye saw Deku dying. Night Eye saw himself dying. But what happened was Deku changed the outcome of the future that he had seen, which is something Night Eye always feared, was that if he saw a particular future, then that can't be changed. That's going to be the end result, period. So that's why he even stopped using his power at its fullest potential, because he feared what he would see and that future not being able to change. So he would only see, you know, just enough to either keep a battle going, to, you know, get enough information for research, but he limited how much of his power he used. And so being that he saw the death future, but then Deku overrode that future, that gave him hope for the future in and of itself, even though All Might's having to forward his mantle to somebody else, even more so to somebody else that Night Eye was unsure of being qualified to take on this role. So that's what makes this such a deep scene. That's what makes this such an emotional moment, because Night Eye now sees that the future is safe in the hands of the new generation, that All Might is going to be okay, that the heroes are going to be okay. And so it's such an emotional scene. That's the one thing about anime. Anime does such a great job of bringing out those emotions, out those feelings, and making you want to cry. I did. Yes, I got watery eyed. I didn't fully cry. I didn't boo-hoo, but no. I got a little wet in the eyes. I'm going to be honest. I got a little wet in the eyes. And then it didn't help either that they had Mirio come in, because he's got a cast on his leg and bandaged up in his arms and his head, because you saw the injuries he had, and he come hobbling in to the hospital room and leaning over Night Eye's bed and telling him, you're going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right. You have to live. He's telling him you have to live. He's bullhorn in the face, and Night Eye looks at him, and he tells him everything's going to be okay. And he reaches up to him and touches Mirio and looks into Mirio's future. He looks in to see that Mirio is going to become the greatest hero, one of the greatest heroes of all time. He's going to surpass everybody. He's going to stand out amongst everybody. And as Night Eye removes his hand from Mirio's face, he lays there and tells everyone to smile. And he smiles. And you see the light slowly fade from his eyes as he dies with a smile on his face. Now, when he's telling everyone to smile, you see him tell Mirio, you see him tell All Might, you see him tell Deku to smile. You see him reach out to Bubble Girl, even in that, being that she was present for there. So they are being encouraged to do what All Might impacted Night Eye to be able to do in the midst of all the chaos that we have to deal with and face in the world, was to smile. And that's one of the things that made All Might stand out, was his smile, because he came in a dangerous situation, saved people's lives, and was smiling as he brought a wave of heroism through all those dangerous situations. And in this tragic moment, Night Eye is encouraging everyone to smile. It was such an emotional episode, so deep. I think it was great. However, I want to move into, like I said, the purpose of this channel. We're bringing Christ into everything that we look at. Now, we're going to kind of combine everything that we don't watch so far. So, in combining it all, you remember when I was speaking about the cape and how that cape signified the blood, and the blood covering the lost person. So, the cape of Mirio covering Eri as she was, as Mirio was fighting to protect her, and her holding on to that cape, holding on to the fact that was that message for her, that symbolism for her, that I'm being saved. I need to take hold of being saved by them. And her intentionally leaving the hands of Chisaki, otherwise known as Overhaul. So there's that religious symbolism there. So there's another aspect of religious symbolism, and that's sacrifice. That's sacrifice. In the Bible, if you read the Old Testament, a big, heavy thing that they emphasize, you see it with Cain and Abel, sacrifice. Abel had a better sacrifice than Cain. That's where you see sacrifice playing out there. You see sacrifice with Abraham making a sacrifice unto God. You see sacrifice with the children of Israel after they were delivered out of the land of Egypt. God is trying to bring them up as a nation, as a people, and he's teaching them proper sacrifices to make unto God, whether it be a burnt offering, it be a sin offering, it be an offering for the harvest. There were different types of sacrifices that were made in response to those. So what took place in the Bible as well, to keep in mind, Jordan Peterson did a great big of study on that, on the Bible. And I mean that from a psychological standpoint and its applicableness, and even in today's time. That back then, what they were harnessing and getting a grasp of in doing the sacrifices that they were doing was that they could have an impact on time. They could have an impact on their future. They could make a sacrifice now that would make it plenteous or beneficial for them when it comes time for the future. So you may ask, okay, what's the relevance of, the Christian sacrifices or the biblical sacrifices that was done by the Jews? What is the genuine impact of that? I want to kind of clear that confusion up there. So when we're talking, for instance, I'm going to simplify it, sin offering. When there is a sin offering being made, sin is what leads to death. What our faith establishes is that if you're practicing sin, you're simply practicing death. You're putting yourself to death. You're accepting death. You're living death. You're not living life in its fullness, to put it in perspective. So if you're practicing and accepting sin, these things that will lead to your destruction, you're only otherwise deserving of death, otherwise hindering you from having a future. But instead, you make the sacrifice that is pleasing unto God, that invests in you being cleansed of the sin so that you can have more to your future, so that you can continue to live. Other aspects to sacrifice is when you look at, for instance, the greater sacrifices made by Abel in the book of Genesis. Abel would sacrifice his lamb, which would mean, the greater flourishing of his flock, of his livestock. So he would sacrifice the firstborn, the best of his flock, to demonstrate that he is investing the future of the flock in the hands of God. So he's investing his future in the one that can truly take care of that future. So a sacrifice is being laid forth. And so to wrap this into perspective, that's what took place with Night Eye dying. A sacrifice was put forth to put an investment into the future of the hero world. So that's why that sacrifice means so much that Night Eye passed. Night Eye was one who, even in his character, it speaks to how important his sacrifice is. He was fearful of the future. He didn't want to know what the future held, because the last time he went too far to look into the future, he saw something tragic that made him otherwise scared to invest in the future, to trust anyone with the future, to look and see what could be held in that future, because we're so used to the tragedy that we go through, the sufferings that we go through. That's why we waste so much money, so much product, so much of our time trying to get the now stuff, trying to, let me have this while I can have it, because I never know when I'm going to have a me time. So we don't make the proper investments that will establish us and prepare us for our future, that then we end up missing out on what we truly could have had, that flourishing, that successfulness. And Night Eye, that's really what was happening with Night Eye, was there was a hindering of the future when it came to Night Eye. But now that Night Eye, one, got to witness someone change the future, and his commitment and willingness to see something different, but also by Night Eye being that sacrifice that contributes to there being a new future. That is what allows for this story to move forward from this point to where it needs to go. Because now other heroes can have a faith in the new generation. Now these other heroes can have a faith in Deku to be a true hero. Someone born without power being given power. They can trust in even Eri, who has a very dangerous, destructive power. She can wipe out human beings in an instant simply by rewinding time on them, which is a power she can't control. But there's a trust in the future that everything's going to be all right. And we as Christians believe that same thing. When we when we pay tithe unto the Lord, when we give a special offering unto the Lord, we're entrusting our finances into the hands of the Lord. You can't say, I trust in you, but you're not giving anything to him to demonstrate that trust. You can say, well, I'm giving him my time, I'm reading my Bible, I'm studying, but there's got to also be a physical aspect of that donation, because if God is the one that's in control of everything, then you need to demonstrate not only that he's in control of the spiritual, but he's also in control of the natural. So what are you sacrificing naturally to him to show that trust? Well, I'm giving up this practice, I'm giving up that practice. No, that's stopping sinning. That's stopping sinning. That's not you sacrificing what you value, what you hold dear, and entrusting it in his hands to do right with it. That's money. That's product. That's in a sense, time, being able to read your scripture, but all of those add in together to demonstrate that you are trusting God with your future. And so that's what's so great about this story. I didn't want to be too long-winded, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up, guys. I'm going to come back and we're going to definitely talk about Deku and One for All, and whether or not the power he was using, was it really all of the power of One for All or not. Thank you, guys, and I hope you have a blessed evening. Good night.